I'm the Member of Parliament for York Centre, also known as Ward 6 in the City of Toronto. Downsview and Ancaster residents are pleading with you personally to put their well-being first, to preserve our neighbourhood, our safety, and most importantly, the safety of our children. 3,000 of them signed a petition not to rezone the land at 1220 Wilson Avenue for a homeless shelter. Councillors, there's no dispute that there's an unprecedented homeless challenge.
I'm going to have to stop you there. I want to remind you of what I just said. What we are considering today, the property is a residential property.
I understand that, Councillor. You have various options.
I'm sorry. If you'd like to be able to speak, you will hear me out. Okay? We are considering issues like the height, the density, the massing, transportation access, things like that. I am really keen to hear any comments you have on those zoning issues. If you want to talk about something else, this is not the correct forum. Do you understand?
Councillor.
Do you understand?
If I may respond to you, please.
I've asked.
We both respect each other's offices. I come here humbly as the Member of Parliament representing approximately 110,000 constituents. This is a matter of great public interest. It's also essential to point out that the process conceived by the city for the selection of this shelter specifically prohibited or outright negated any consultation. We were not consulted.
Mr. Baber, I am going to stop you and I'm going to give you one last chance. This is a hearing under the Planning Act of Ontario.
You're telling me
Planning Act, just a minute. The Planning Act of Ontario makes it very clear what we consider in a statutory public meeting. We consider zoning matters having to do with the height, the proximity to the next building, the amount of green space, the relationship of windows to the property line, transportation access, zoning matters. That is what this meeting is to consider. If you have any comments on that,
yes,
we are excited to hear them.
Because
if you want to talk about a different issue than that, that is not what we are considering here today, and I will ask you to leave. Okay?
No, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, you don't have the floor. So you may proceed
Councillor
to talk
Perks,
about the zoning matter.
But zoning does not necessarily need to focus on the type of zoning amendments that you propose. I submit to you respectfully that I may propose that we consider rezoning to a different plan, that we look at a different zoning, and that's a different permitted use. So if I'm allowed to speak to rezoning the use, then I'm allowed to speak to the fact that a homeless shelter should not be permitted to be erected between a middle school and a daycare center. The issue is the use of the land.
Yes,
and I'm entirely within my right to comment that current zoning is inappropriate. And I see nothing wrong with those submissions.
The property is currently zoned for a residential use. I want you to understand
this committee and this, I understand that, but this committee and this council has the power to change that zoning, and that's what I'm here for.
So if you want to argue that this should not be any kind of residential use, I'm prepared to hear those comments. But what we cannot hear, and this has been established in the courts over and over and over again, is that planning law cannot be used to distinguish between which kinds of people live in a residential use.
I'm not talking
so if you believe this should be an industrial use, I am open to those comments.
Councillor, this could be a recreational use. It could be any kind of use. What I'm suggesting to you is that I may have a different proposal for what might be appropriate, and that is a zoning, or might not be appropriate, and that is a zoning issue.
Mr. Chair,
I have come here for a deputation.
Point of order. You're not a member of the committee. You're not a member of the committee.
That is true too.
Point of order. Go ahead.
I was invited for a 5-minute deputation, which you cut by 2 minutes at the commencement of this meeting. And I'd like to put on the record that you will not permit me to speak against the construction of a homeless shelter between 100 meters away from the Pierre Laporte Middle School and 100 meters from the St. Teresa Child Care Center. You will not permit me to testify that an intersection away at Jane and Wilson, the Toronto Plaza Shelter has become an epicenter of crime and drugs and chaos. The Toronto City shelters are now handing out drug paraphernalias inside Toronto City shelters. Children will be picking up needles. This is on you. You have not consulted any of us. You will bear responsibility for this vote.
And that completes your time. Are there any questions of the deputant?